Hi, welcome. Today we're going to do something a little different. Recently, I've reviewed a couple of lever manual espresso machines, the Flare and the Rock, and I've got two other kinds of manual espresso makers, but they're a little bit different. They're both claiming to do something like espresso, but they're kind of direct pressure. There's no lever involved. Now, this immediately rules out any real high pressures. There's only so much pressure you can apply with your hands or your body compared to an espresso machine or a lever. 9 bars of pressure is 130 pounds of force per square inch. So to exert that kind of force by hand, that's just not going to happen. So I have two different products to review. I have the Cafflano Kompresso, which is a little handheld thing, and then also the fellow product's Prismo, which is an attachment designed to go onto an AeroPress. So this is just a little simple thing. This is an entire brewer, and they're both going to try and do the same thing. Now we'll start with the fellow Prismo. It's a pretty neat idea, but it's not a new idea. When I first got into selling espresso machines, that was in the early 2000s, for domestic machines, you would get this thing called the kind of crema disc or kind of pressurized portafilters. And they were little tiny discs that sat underneath the basket that only really let espresso flow through when the basket had reached a certain pressure. This meant that if you put your pre-ground, quite coarse supermarket coffee in there, you would still get a buildup of pressure, despite the fact that usually the machine would just blow water right through that. So you'd get this kind of weird espresso out of it, but you'd get quite a lot of crema. This is a very similar idea. In this, you get two things. You get the attachment that has the little valve in it that will open at a certain pressure, and you also get a little metal filter plate. This is because if you use paper, you really won't get any crema. For that kind of good-looking espresso-y thing, metal is your friend. So this pops in here, you click it to the bottom of an AeroPress, and you brew some coffee. Now we'll unbox the other one while we're here. A little bit more stuff inside this one. We'll get to instructions, but you know. Okay, so the Kompresso is obviously designed as a kind of travel option that all kind of clicks together quite neatly. And there's several pieces to this. So you've got your main top plunger that's going to do your pressing. You've got the kind of brewing chamber that has a little shower screen at the bottom. Your coffee's going to go in here, and again, metal filtered. And then you've got a little tamper, and then I suppose I'm drinking from this, maybe. As we talked about, to get real high pressures, if that's distributed over a large surface area, a large number of square inches, to build the pounds per square inch is very difficult. Here, you've got a pretty narrow chamber, so that may allow a sort of better conversion of force to pressure inside the brewing chamber. A note before we begin on crema. People in coffee talk like crema is some sort of magical thing. It's really not. It's no different to head on a beer. When you roast coffee, one of the byproducts is CO2. A lot of that remains trapped inside the grounds, even after the ground, and you'll see that when coffee blooms or when you pull shots of espresso, you get a foam. And what's happened is that water under pressure is able to absorb way more CO2 than it usually can. And when it gets back to being at atmospheric pressure, then it can't keep hold of it anymore. And that CO2 comes out of solution, and then in the case of coffee, gets trapped in the coffee as a foam. Coffee contains surfactants, which is sort of short for surface active agents, or simply put, a kind of foaming agent, something that will wrap itself around a bubble to make it strong and stable. Today, we're not really going to get into definitions of what is espresso. Is it something brewed at very high pressure? And what is high pressure? Is it 5 bars, 6 bars, 7? Is it short? Is it big? Is a lungo still espresso? Is that, what is what? That's not for now. That's not for today. We're going to brew these things as they suggest we brew them. I'm going to taste them, and we're going to see, well, what's good, what's fun, what's nice, what's recommended, which one is better. Let the competition begin. So I have my handy AeroPress. I only need these two pieces because obviously I need the plunger, but I'm going to attach the Prismo to the bottom of my AeroPress, which is a little bit stiff, but I suppose that's good if we're going to be pushing at high pressure. Now they want me to put in 20 grams of ultrafine coffee. I don't know what that is, but we'll get there. 50 grams of water, 10-second agitation, and then a minute steep, and then press. So I have my boiling water. Now usually it would seem foolish to pour on an AeroPress just on a set of scales. You'd want it on its brewing vessel already. But, well, I'm going to trust the product. It shouldn't open because of that valve at the bottom. So 50 mils. Doesn't seem like much. 10 seconds of agitation. It would seem foolish to pour on an AeroPress just on a set of scales. I hadn't really thought about that, but putting the plunger on top does apply pressure. Clearly enough pressure to open the valve. That doesn't seem ideal. Let's start over. I return with fresh water and a lesson learned. Don't be cocky. 50 mils again. 10 seconds of agitation. We're all agitated appropriately. The Vega's wisps of foam. Flavour-wise, it's not bad, actually. It's a little strong for me, actually, in some ways. I generally would prefer a bigger espresso. So I might do better putting maybe 60, maybe even 70 mils of water into this thing, because your yield out of this is not very much if you're putting 50 mils in. And it's reasonably well extracted. It tastes okay. There's no crema, but it's not a problem for me. I don't mind. Also worth considering is the fact that this is designed to be a little bit more multi-use, right? It would let you brew a regular style AeroPress with a metal filter, but you wouldn't have to invert to prevent the brew from starting because the valve at the bottom would do that for you. So you can brew a regular AeroPress with this thing. It would be useful. They talk about like cold brew and iced teas. Not blown away, but interesting. I feel like a few more shots and I may get something good. But just for a first run comparison, let's turn our attention to our friend, the Kompresso. See if they give me a recommendation for the amount of coffee I should use. So recipe-wise, this seems much more sensible. They're going to go with 10 to 15 grams and then somewhere between 30 and 60 mils of water. So we're not going to get the same kind of recipe that we did from the Prismo for a side-by-side comparison. So let's do maybe 15 grams to 60 grams of water. Turns out no, we're going to be doing about 12 grams. Now this does come with a little tamper type thing. Let's just move you. But is that branded? Oh really? Go together with you. Let's just clean up a little bit here. Now I may have to get out of the chair for this one. So we're going to go that full 60 mils. Feeling it. So this is much closer to espresso in that there's kind of a pre-infusion phase and then a straight kind of percolation phase. It says 5 seconds or so, let it pre-infuse. Squeeze. So we've got like an amount of liquid that is not seemingly that interested in passing through the coffee. So this is too small. This is not a success. Oh, that's your classic. Oh, way too short, right? Like that's woefully under extracted in comparison certainly to the first shot, the Prismo. I definitely need to get more of the water through the coffee. Let's brew again. Second chance time. Well, second attempt. Let's not make it that harsh. So 5-10 seconds of pre-infusion. A little plunger. So I should be using the proper technique. That looks better. Pretty much all the liquid went through. That's good. I don't love this as a drinking vessel. I think I'm not entirely dialed in on the grind. I think I could go just a touch finer again, and I'd be pretty close to well extracted, actually. Again, about 12 grams of coffee in the basket, 60 mils of water. Seems like a kind of big ratio, you know, like a long shot, but not everything gets pressed through, and I think you do need as much liquid as you can in these type of setups to do as much extraction as you can. So this is okay, and I think it would be very easily a little bit better. All right, I'm going to pull a few more shots on each, a few more brews, and then I'll come back to you in a second. So time for final thoughts on these two things. And I've brewed a little bit more with them and I've thought a little bit more about them. And here's my summary. Neither of them are making anything that's really that close to something from either a proper espresso machine or a lever espresso machine, be it manual or not. They're not really achieving super high pressure. I know that the Cafflano Kompresso claims to hit some high pressures, but I'd be interested to see their maths on that one. And it doesn't taste like it doesn't look like it, neither of them. Now, the fellow, it's really not brewing anything that I would call espresso, and they call it espresso-like, and I think that's pretty fair. I don't think you're getting that close. It is a much more flexible product. It does more, and you could argue this is a little bit more of a jack of all trades, master of none, where this is really just going much deeper on trying to do espresso. Right here, this is a nice little hack for an AeroPress to have a couple of bonus features, but it's not making espresso. This thing is getting much closer. The pressures are going to be higher. It's more like a percolation where a column of water passes through a puck of ground coffee. It's neat. It's got quite a few pieces, but they fit together quite well. It's easy enough to clean. It makes better espresso-like coffee to me. So if all you wanted was something that did something close to espresso, that you just use your hands, like it's light, it's durable, it'll travel well, you'll get pretty close to something espresso-like. This is probably a more useful product for a whole bunch of different things. If you like AeroPress coffee, and if you like metal-filtered AeroPress coffee in particular, this is probably a nice little add-on. I don't really like metal filters myself. I always prefer paper filters, especially in the AeroPress, but that doesn't mean everyone agrees with me. In fact, lots of people like metal filters. There's a good argument in terms of sustainability, in terms of having something reusable. So if you've got an AeroPress and you want to, one, have no drips until you press, and two, you want to get into using less paper, this is maybe an option. If you want travel espresso on the go, probably this. I'm not going to keep either of these. I'm going to give them both away. If I got to keep one of them, I would probably keep this, just for those rare moments where I might want something more espresso-like. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of metal-filtered AeroPress coffee. That's just me. Now, the reason I'm not keeping them is I'm giving them both away to Patreon backers. So I've started a Patreon where your contributions fund me buying things to review so that there's no influence from manufacturers, there's no bias in there. And at the end of the review, well, I give the products away back to the community that supported them. So the two winners of these products is Eriku Valren and Ethan Anderson. I haven't decided who's getting what yet, but you'll get some packages in the mail soon. I'll drop you an email for your addresses. If you want to have influence over what I review, if you want to be a part of that community and potentially end up with one of these things or something else at the end of it, then I would appreciate your support. If you don't want to support, that's okay. Videos will still be on this channel, they'll still be here, there'll still be a wide range of topics. But if you want to get involved, join a conversation that we're having over there, join that community, I'd love to see you. Your thoughts are welcome. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Do you have one of these? Do you have both? Let me know what you think. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great day.